Welcome back to the word expanded, the Gospels. I never say it right. I always emphasize the wrong part of that whole thing. But this is a word that you get every single day, hopefully, an opportunity to get a whole chapter of the word just read straight to you. And this is the expanded version because everybody knows I couldn't just do that. Right? It is a really hard thing to just read a chapter of scripture and not say anything about that in any way, shape, or form. Those who can do it are way above my pay grade. So, we're in Matthew chapter 4. We're in verse 23. We're finishing up this chapter, and this is right before the Sermon on the Mount, which you're excited about. Chapter 5, 6, 7, right? We do a lot of preaching on that, and this is going to be really hard for me to just pull out a simple moment from all of those things, right? But when we look at verses 23, right, to the end, this is where Jesus starts grabbing crowds, right? He starts getting people to come to him. Right? And then he's going to give them all the downloads. So let me read it and then talk about it for a second. It says in verse 23, and he went throughout all Galilee. When Jesus says all, that's usually what he means. When I say all, it's usually meant to make somebody feel bad, or it's meant to over exaggerate and say, oh, everybody hates me and nobody likes me, right? Type of thing. But when Jesus says he went through all of Galilee, that's what he did, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every disease and every affliction among the people. So fame spread throughout all Syria. They brought him all the sick, those afflicted with various diseases, all the pains, those who were oppressed by demons, epileptics, and paralytics, and he healed them. A crowd followed him from Galilee and the Decapolis, and from Jerusalem and Judea, and from beyond the Jordan, right? So you can get this picture. Jesus is doing ministry. Right? He's doing individual ministry, what God has called him to do. He's healing people who are brought to him, right? He's teaching a little bit, right? But he's gathering a crowd, right? He's gathering, as he's doing more and more ministry, he's gathering a crowd. We see this all the time. We see this in professional athletics, right? Where somebody, when they're 5 years old, is doing what they do. And they keep doing it, and they keep doing it, and eventually they keep drawing a crowd of people watching them, right? People want to see them play whatever it is that they're going to play, right? They want to see them do the things that they do. A lot of times this happens in ministry with pastors. They spend the first 50 years of their life, little church ministry, all this stuff, and then all of a sudden God just expands, right? And they become this name where people know their name and read their books and want to come hear them preach and all of these things. But they've got a whole bunch of years before that where they're just doing what they're called to do. So you get this picture of Jesus just walking around being Jesus. What's it mean to be Jesus? Well, he taught in the synagogues, right? So up till now, he's not beating on the synagogues. He's going in and he's teaching. He's taking his turn, reading the scroll, and saying, hey, here's what this means. That's what they did in the synagogue, right? Until Jesus walks in and says, hey, this is fulfilled within your hearing, right? And then all the people go, no, what does this mean? Right? Type of thing. And then they drag him out to a cliff and they're going to push him over. And right? But Jesus is going to the synagogues. He didn't go put up a church, say this is the church of Jesus, and invite people to come to it. He didn't have every night services, every day services. He didn't have a whole staff working with him. Right? What he did was he started walking around, and it's funny. He just started collecting people. Right? Some of them are people that are following him, learning from him, all of those things. And some of them are people who just want what he has for them. But what he's doing is he's doing exactly what he said. It's not the healthy who need the doctor. It's the sick. He's collecting people who need God. They need Jesus. How do you do that? Well, you get out and about and you walk where the people are. Right? Funny. Let me leave you with this thought process. Every Sunday, I am in a church or in a church setting, right? And there's a little door that opens and people can come into the church and they can listen to me speak and they can listen to me, be profoundly, right, interesting, or they can fall asleep. They get their choice, right, what they want to do with the information I'm giving them. But they have to come to me, right? And they come into the church. Frequently, though, I get the opportunity to go into hospitals. And you know what? It strikes me. That's where the sick people are. That's where people who need Jesus are. It's not just in the hospitals, but it's in the stores, it's in the ball fields, it's in the beaches around here this time of the year. It's all over the place. That's where the sick people are. And that's what Jesus did. He just walked around, did life with people, and started collecting a crowd. A great crowd was just following him around. Right? We're supposed to be Jesus, you and I. So if we're just doing what we're supposed to be doing, doesn't it make sense that somewhere along the line we're going to start collecting people who just want to see what Jesus is going to do next at worst? What's Jesus going to do through you? What's Jesus going to do through you? What's Jesus going to do through you? At best, they want to be where Jesus is, and they want to learn, and they want to grow. Right? But we should be collecting a crowd of people. Jesus had those who wanted to be like him, those who wanted what he had, and those who didn't want him on the planet. You should see that in your own life. Do you have people who are adamantly against you because you're being Jesus? Do you have people who just want what you have? They want to benefit from the fact that you're blessed. You know, there are people who know that you're blessed by Jesus. They want your finances. They want your resources. They want your baking. They want your, whatever you do, they want to benefit from it. And they're willing to stay around and stick around with you until it gets really tough. And then there are the disciples that Jesus had, where at one time he looks at them and says, "Are you going to leave me too?" Those are the people who want you, right? And they stick with you. So Jesus is developing a crowd for a really important reason. He's about ready to introduce to them the kingdom of heaven. Up to this point, healing people, talking to people, working through the synagogue, affirming what God has said and all kinds of things. And now he's about ready on the next episode of the Word Expanded, the Gospel edition, right? He's about ready to totally turn everything upside down. I know that some of us are waiting for that. Some of us are waiting for God to turn things upside down. But God prepped with Jesus, and he's going to prep with us. At the right moment, he will turn everything upside down. Then we better be ready for what happens with that moment. We're going to walk through that moment next time. Let me rephrase that. We'll start to walk through that moment next time on the Word Expanded, the Gospels.